So, hello everybody. Good evening or afternoon, depending where you're at. I feel very honored and grateful to be able to open another space, another portal, another journey um, of deepening my work with the cacao medicine and um, and extending what I've already learned in the format of a training that I'll talk a little bit more about later, how that all came into existence. But yeah, in the first place, I wanted to to thank you for simply being here, showing interest, and I hope that I'll be able to provide you with a nourishing, informative time, and yeah, that it may serve you and your extended relations. Um, so I want to start off on that note. Actually, a lot of what I perceive is the potential of cacao at this time is to touch on layers of ourselves that may have gotten conditioned in ways that are not fully in alignment with our natural state of being, which is actually interconnected. And this is also why I was talking about our relations. And in a lot of I want to say earth-based cultures, and in the Native American um, cultures as well, there's often invocations around our relations. And the way that I see this work is that by us choosing to honor the calls that we have to evolve, to heal, to decondition, recondition ourselves, we're actually offering a big gift, not just to ourselves, but um, in a very natural way to all our relations, and through our own inner work, evolution, journey, we can often find that our whole extended web of connections, of relations, resonates differently with us or mirrors different things. Um, so yeah, in spiritual circles, people often say, um, as within, so without. And I feel like my personal journey is gave me that mirror, gave me that proof that um, we all learn, we all grow together, but the only work that we can really do is our own work. And the way that has supported me tremendously, and many others that I know, is by helping to open spaces, portals, um, of emotional release and emotional processing work in the first place. And with that, actually, also what I want to call spiritual processing. Now, why is this emotional processing work so important? Sometimes people say you can get stuck in the emotional realms, and you can create drama, and my experience is actually that in order to meet specific conditionings that we have in our body-mind structure, um, I want to say they're like mechanisms that are ingrained in our systems. In order to meet those, and in order to actually release or transform those, oftentimes they need to be met with the same amount of intensity that they were placed there with. So, for example, if somebody's had I want to say, a really intense trauma, then my opinion, my experience, in order to really allow it to transmute, there's a similar intensity of energy that it ought to be met with, but obviously in a conscious way, in a way that's um, actually supportive of the reconditioning that we're looking for. And I noticed in my own personal journey that cacao very much amplifies the capacity to be able to move with intensity while still remaining very strong in our center and remaining very strong in our observer like awareness. And therefore, this is for me the most powerful capacity that cacao as a medicine has. And obviously, there's a lot of different practices nowadays that people do with cacao, all different kinds of ceremonies. And I'll talk a little bit more about the heritage of cacao later. But um, different kinds of ceremonies are happening, ecstatic dance, yeah, meditations, and all those practices have their powers and are valid. Um, and there is something to be said about honoring the power of the cacao medicine with a strong container, with a ritual setting that allows the wisdom of this medicine to come through to whoever's in the container, whether it's, just me or, or you, or whether it's 2 people, 3 people, whether it's a whole group of people. But my perception and I want to say my heritage, the tradition that I've learned from, and also the tradition that I am building from my own experience and my own journey, is very much in support of creating strong containers and creating a set and a setting, which is terms that are often used for stronger plant medicines um, or psychedelic journeys and this and that, which I'm not so much into or exploring myself, but I feel like it's very useful for working with cacao as well. And therefore, a big intention of this training is to is to offer people who have an ambition or a desire to work with cacao in an empowered way, to offer them tools, to offer them templates, to offer them transmissions, to offer them a frame of reference around what, in the first place, does ritual or can ritual look like, and how can the concept of ritual support deep journeying with cacao, ultimately to be able to offer a space to ourselves and to others that will enable the full power of the cacao medicine to really bring itself to the table. And so, in my understanding is that we're working with an energetic, spiritual being when we're working with any kind of plant medicine teacher, and therefore also with cacao. It's a form of intelligence that that just like our souls, just like the spirits of all the plants, live in the unseen realms, but also have a physical manifestation, biological manifestation, which for our souls, that's our body in this lifetime. For the cacao, obviously, that's the tree with its fruits, with the beans that get processed and then get roasted and they get ground up, and then we prepare it with water and then we drink it. So when we do this work, we're not only engaging with the cacao on the, I want to say the 3-dimensional, we're also engaging with her in the spiritual energetic realms. And this may sound a little bit, woo-woo to some people, but my lived experience is that in creating a container, in honoring the unseen, in honoring the spiritual and energetic being that we're working with, and acknowledging and inviting consciously this being into the space, a lot of powerful magic just happens oftentimes. And this combined with the cacao that has a tendency to really open people's hearts, bring them more into deeper presence. I want to say this warmth of unconditional love. So those two aspects combined often, for me, create a space that can be truly empowering. And the beautiful thing about Cacao is that she works closely in alliance with the facilitator, the guide of the space. And I want to speak into that a little bit more. Cacao is gentle, like a flexible, versatile plant medicine. It's not very directive, as opposed to stronger plant medicines, like, for example, ayahuasca or peyote, or also even magic mushrooms can be more directive. They'll be more punchy. They may like really grab you and take you on a journey. And facilitation from a guide in such a space is equally important, but not necessarily as proactive or as active. There's more of a supportive role that a facilitator or a guide has in those spaces. And even though that's also the case with Cacao, what I've noticed is that with Cacao, there's a deeper invitation for the facilitator to really take a proactive role, and bring what they have to the table. And so another reason why I decided to bring this course, this training, that's starting in just a few weeks, why I decided to bring this is because it's a deep journey, a personal journey in the first place, from the student, let's say, the participant, the trainee who's opening a doorway with Cacao and creating a deeper affinity with her, so that from that place there's a confidence and there's an ease, or at least more of it, when or if you want to then host rituals for other people. So in the first place, it's really about nourishing the connection with Cacao ourselves and going on an inquiry, a journey of inquiry with her that is guided. That's like it's built up. There's different building blocks. And then from that place, hopefully there's a deeper ease and confidence in engaging in creating a ritual with Cacao. And so that can be just for ourselves. It can be for others, for partners, friends, for lovers, for a group of people, depending on the wisdom that will come through in our personal journey of inquiry. In the first part of the training, there will be a clarity around what that wants to look like, the connection with Cacao. How does it want to birth itself in the world? And it's actually, in retrospect, and also the feedback that I've gotten from previous participants, it's actually quite it's quite a fast journey. It's quite a compact, a concentrated journey, um, where we have 3.5 hours of, I want to say, cacao ceremony, but it's more than that. It's also embodiment practices. It's also meditations. It's also transmissions like seminar aspects. Every session is different, and every session brings different, has a different theme and brings different building blocks to the table. And in between each session, there will be what I want to call soul work, homework, soul work, where there's a practice that you'll be invited to engage in throughout the week. Then there will also be optional support sessions in between the main rituals, I want to say, in between the main Zoom calls, where we'll engage in guided but quite simple but profound sharing circles. Sometimes they'll have a theme, sometimes they won't, and this is optional depending on on your schedule and your capacity. Obviously, you can step in or not. That's also the case for the main sessions. There's no obligation for anything, but the recommendation, the invitation is to be present in person if possible. But then, if not, the recordings are available usually a few hours after the session ends. Um, and and so we build up through different realms that, from my personal experience, feel supportive for not just our own personal journey of expansion, of healing, of transformation, of letting go, reconditioning, um, but also to how can we, from a place of what feels integrated in ourselves, bring our gifts to the world in a powerful way, but within our capacity. So those are the main two pillars of this work. And the way that it came into existence, this training, is actually it's a reflection of almost like a compilation, a coming together of a lot of different aspects of healing, of transformation that I have experienced myself from different schools, different teachers, different cultures. So I started back in, I think it must have been 2010. I decided to go and travel nomadically for a few years. I was I was in a very different space than now, very much like wanting to distance myself from the world and wanting to distance myself from the social economic reality, let's say, that is the Western mainstream culture, and decided to just give myself full permission to roam, and somehow ended up sailing across the Atlantic and then I got to South America and spent time in different places volunteering and also spending time with different indigenous groups in a variety of countries in Latin America until I got to Lake Atitlan, which is in Guatemala, on Mayan land in it's a Cachical Mayan area, where in 2013 I arrived and just things just fully clicked together for me very clearly, very rapidly. Um, I was a part of a tantric community for a little bit over there, which was just very beautiful, very expansive, very like accelerated healing and learning and gorgeous. I later decided to settle down there. I wanted to live there. And that's also a lot of the omens, the signals that I got from life. Everything kept falling in place. I then started to engage with Cacao together with my ex-partner at the time. He like took me over the edge to go to this Keith Wilson cacao shaman person that I didn't really know much about and felt a little bit like uncertain about. And then so he convinced me to go there. I arrived at this first cacao ceremony that I was ever at, and before even drinking the cacao, I started crying, and I did not stop crying for, it must have been more than an hour, maybe even the whole ritual. I don't actually really remember, but it was a lot, a lot of crying, and it was gorgeous. And then there was a true sense of just recognition around who I am and the power of where I was at that time. Um, and then one ceremony turned into many more with Keith Wilson, who's also now one of the better known cacao shaman. He also produces in a very ethical and, I want to say, empowered way, very, very strong ceremonial cacao, which is also the cacao that for this training that I host, that you will be sent 1 pound of 1 block, which is 11 ceremonial portions. So anyway, a bunch of ceremonies later, I also started to get in touch with local Mayan elders, and even without drinking the cacao, their ritual practice is really quite powerful. And it took me a few years to start to truly feel and understand the gifts and the power of this heritage, in going deeper with my own Mayan teacher, that I met in, it must have been 2015 or 2016. And through engaging in fire rituals, I started to understand much more deeply the power of the land and the wisdom of that land as well. I feel like she started to speak through me, and then I received permissions also to pass on some of the Mayan knowledge and hold rituals, traditional fire rituals, from my teacher, and also through messages that I got in different rituals. The cacao, together with the Mayan fire rituals, has been a big teacher for me as well. I then started to host spiritual sacred site journeys to different places in Guatemala, and yeah, offering rituals, offering invocations, and just ceremony, acknowledgement to the spirits of the different sacred sites that we'd visit on these journeys was another big, yeah, huge chunk of learning for me. Then also in 2016, I started to go deeper into the path of, I want to say, sacred sexuality, spiritual sexual shamanism through ISTA, International School of Temple Arts. And then in 2019, I started going even deeper with them and assisting various trainings, and now organizing since 2 or 3 years these trainings in Guatemala as well as in Belgium. And that's been another, yeah, very empowering journey that's offered me a lot of tools, beautiful frame of reference, and a lot of hands-on experience in facilitation and creating ritual, and yeah, understanding more about body, mind, spirit, and how we can engage in an effective way in healing and transformation. So that's been a very big part of my journey too. And I feel like this training brings together basically all those different pieces. So even though there's lots of different trainings and events that you can do with cacao, I yeah, I'm grateful that I'm able to bring this specific body of work, this specific training, as a result of my own personal experience. And And yeah, the training speaks to, I want to say, to a lot of different parts of our human system, of our human technology, both to the parts of us that are seeking embodiment, emotional expression, and release, to the parts of us that are chaotic and, yeah, expressive, let's say, as well as to the parts of us that may be more meditative, maybe more cosmic, um, that may be more directive, guiding. So, yeah, I feel like it's a wide field, um, that we're opening and engaging in this training. So, yeah, it's a beautiful journey, and yeah, I'm curious. The way that it unfolds is always different depending on what I'm sensing the group wants and needs. Um, Also on the guidance that I'm getting, as well as where I'm at. And what are the things that I feel are most aligned and empowering to bring to the table. So yeah, depending on the group, obviously it's always a different journey. And I think this will be the fifth. No, it must be the sixth time that I'll be hosting this training, both online and in person. It's always a little bit different. So yeah, I'm curious. I'm excited for this iteration of the training. And yeah, I'm wanting to open the space for everybody who's here in the room to see if there's any questions, to share a little bit how this lands. Just also being aware that the session is being recorded, so if you choose to speak, then I will be sharing this on YouTube and on Facebook as well. If you have questions that you simply want to put in the chat, feel free to do that too if you prefer not to come on camera.
Well, I'm mostly curious in how you approach the plant spirit and connecting to that, and um, bringing that into possibility with ceremony. So to me, that's the most important part. I had some plant dreams myself, not with cacao, and my teachers couldn't make any sense of it because they were Native Americans and I had European plant dreams. So for me, learning how to open up to the plant spirit and connecting to him, and uh, being in communication to what it enables is the most important thing of the training. Could you say anything about how you approach that?
Yeah, thank you. Well, in the first place, wanting to mirror that, yeah, the importance of engaging consciously with with the plant teacher, and feeling some excitement for you that you've got these visionary dreams with different plants native from where you're from. I feel like that's a beautiful invitation to work with plants in general, but yeah, definitely the plants that where you're from. And the way that if I understand your question correctly, the way that I choose to work with plant teachers is in the setting of an ongoing connection, just like, let's say, daily life situation. When I'm consuming the plant, acknowledgement first and foremost important part, is understanding that there's a spirit, an energy that's here, that I'm going on a journey with, even if it's, let's say, recreational use, which for cacao could be, you know, a small portion of cacao. That could even be mixed with like, you know, milk or plant-based milk or something. It could also be with other plants. It could be a tea, for example. But creating an ongoing connection simply through acknowledging, definitely before consuming the plant, but it could also be in other random moments through the day, acknowledgement and inviting. Like it's almost like there's a conversation that's going on. Um, and again, it may sound woo and everything, but it doesn't have to be anything kind of out of the ordinary. I want to say, for example, right now we're having a conversation, and yeah, the way that I speak with cacao sometimes is in a similar way, like literally, like I would speak to another person, and um, there is an understanding sometimes in spiritual circles that it's like these beings or deities or let's say plant teachers in this case, that they're somehow better than us, or that they're like, you know, higher in the authority or something. And I want to, even though that's valid, I want to also challenge that, because really they also learn from us, and they also engage with us because they want to. And so it's like I want to invite humbleness, and I feel that I'm usually humble also in my approach to how I work with the plants. And at the same time, there's an understanding of like we're actually here on the same level as well. And this is a principle that also during the training that I work with, um, in the conversations, in the journeys, in the connective practices with the cacao spirit that I guide or that are a part of the training. Yeah, so that's one way to do it, and with that goes there's another level to do it, which is creating a whole ritual space. And I feel like if we really want to get the message, if we really want to get the download, let's say, it's a very powerful practice to really create a space specifically for connecting with this plant, and seeing what will come. And I do this with every ritual with cacao that I host. And then obviously, depending on the intention of the ritual, there will be different feelings, guidance, um, transmissions that come, or ideas, you know, creative input or something that will come usually in the moment. So bringing, I want to say, a directive, like a masculine, held approach, also allows for more of a chaotic, creative, wild, feminine energy to you know, to blossom in that space and express itself. And approaching your connection with the plant in that way, I think, is a powerful practice. And then, as a last thing that's coming to mind, is whenever we're actually consuming, or maybe even journeying with, depending, you know, choice of words, with a plant medicine teacher, working with an underlying intention to create a bond, to create an alliance, to create a deeper connection with this plant without necessarily having to become dependent on it, is something that I would recommend to anybody working with any plant, because every plant has its powers, its superpowers. And yeah, there may also be parts of the effect that aren't as supportive to our systems as we would want. And so, like with any kind of substance, there's always a risk to become, yeah, hooked in or dependent to how we feel impacted by this, consuming the plant. And my experience, one of the most powerful things that you can do in connecting with any plant, any substance, is holding an intention to connect with its spirit in the first place, so that that spirit can be present with you, and that after a while, maybe you don't need to consume anything. It's just there. It's an ally. It's a part of your spiritual, energetic web of connections and allies. Um, and yeah, just like with any other plant, and also this is a part of my practice and what I offer as a template also for connection with the plant during this cacao training. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Thanks, Heidi. Thanks for mirroring. So you don't have any questions. Um, do you have any questions, Ali? Okay. Gorgeous.
Hiya, sorry, my internet's
Hello?
hello, sorry, my internet keeps on tripping me in and out. Can you hear me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry about that. Thank you for just bringing some more light into the cacao for me, for sure. I think I was called to want to sort of like step into the practitioner side of the cacao because it's done so much for me in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I've, when you were saying that actually the spirit of cacao has been very gentle in sort of like affirming, I can definitely say I felt that transition and that move in my life over most recent, weeks and months as the times that I've been consuming it. I don't think I have any questions. I just, I just wanted to say that. But yeah, I think the course sounds really, really interesting, and I already I feel that I'm going to get a deep, sort of like a deeper sense of connection with the cacao that I don't yet have. I've not
Mm.
yet experienced, and I'm excited for that. I'm excited
Mm.
that you'll be teaching us and guiding us through that as well. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
That feels good to receive and to hear. Yeah. Yay, yeah. So if there's no more questions, I'm going to talk just a little bit into more of the practicalities. So the training is, I call it a 5-week journey because it's actually five um, main sessions. So the sessions are 3.5 hours on Sundays in the morning / early afternoon on the American continent, and mid to late afternoon in the UK and in Europe. And so there's 5 big sessions. They all have a theme. and they build on each other. So it goes pretty fast, and the invitation is to to create space for this work, because not just coming from a place of like it's going to be good for you, but or like some kind of a healing trip, like we need to become something the best that we can as fast as possible. That's not really the intention of this. It's also because it's actually a really fun and powerful journey. And the Cacao spirit's a celebratory spirit. She's playful. She's exciting. She's expressive, and a big part of the journey is also focused on that. So the invitation to create space for it is, it's not just for healing. It's not just for transformation. It's also because we want to have space for ourselves to just be in the celebration of this work as well, and the connection with Cacao. So that's definitely a part of the journey. And there's five sessions, and in between each session, then there will be a support session. Those are usually around an hour to an hour and a half, depending on the size of the group. And then there will be homework assignments. After each session, I will also offer written content just as a support. And the homework sessions are like, sorry, they're not sessions, the assignments. I would say if you can have about an hour in between, so an hour each week to engage in that, that would probably be sufficient. But there's an ongoing invitation to just create space for our authentic and playful expression with Cacao and in relation to the homework assignments. So that's very much an invitation. And then afterwards you'll receive a manual. I have a what's the word? It's like an interactive Facebook group with different sections around each session, and also with different intentions. So in general, it's quite an extensive journey, and it's not strictly 4 weeks. It starts on October 15th on a Sunday, and it'll end on November 12th. But registrations for this training close at the end of this week, because I need to send the cacao and to ship a block of cacao to everybody. And to be able to do that kind of easily, need about at least a week. So registrations really close at the end of this week. And what else do I have to say about this? I'll be available to ask questions in the Facebook group. So throughout the sessions, sometimes I may not, during the sessions themselves, answer a whole bunch of questions, because our time is so precious. And what I often ask then is that people share their questions in the chat, and then things that are really relevant to exactly what we're doing, I may answer right there and then. But oftentimes I'll create a video answering all the other questions that then comes later in the week. And yeah, without wanting to brag, I'm a bit of a cacao encyclopedia after all these years, both in when it comes to knowledge and like little fun facts, as well as around just the work and how to engage with her, and how to hold space and this and that. So I love being of service in that way, and I love just bringing whatever I have to the table. So you'll have plenty of opportunity to ask me questions. And yeah, so for all of us who are here on this call, I have some other little gifts, and I'll talk about those more in a little bit. But I'm curious if there's any more questions, like around the practicalities related to this training, or no? Oh yeah, and so the format is, at the first session, we make the cacao together and have a big starting invocation. Then afterwards, I'll invite you to make the cacao before, and we come to the session with our cacao ready and go straight into the ritual space, to the invocations. And you'll receive a video. For those who aren't familiar with how to make cacao, you'll receive a video also beforehand. So yeah, I'm like feeling juiced up. I'm feeling really excited about this. And very curious what this journey will bring for all of us. Yeah, I feel like I'm coming to completion for now. So feel free to reach out to me if you have any more questions, things that come up. Registrations will be closing this Friday. And yeah, I hope to see you all soon. Thank you for being